That's cool.
Good morning.
Hey there.
My name is Molly Marshall. I am here with Allison Smith of Allison Smith Design. And we're just on here this morning. We're going to talk about how to select a color palette. This is a question that Allison gets a lot. And so we thought we would just kind of walk through the process. And if you guys have questions while you're watching, feel free to type those and we'll try to address those. So yeah, I think we'll just want to just jump in. I know that from many of our conversations that color is kind of one of your pillars of design. So if you just want to kind of talk to us about why you love color, why it's so important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So for me, color really speaks so much about the mood of everything that happens in design, whether it's commercial or residential. It sets the tone, and color can start with the materials, if you will, that you start off with when you're specifying or as choosing them, or with materials that already exist in a space. And my favorite way of addressing color to complement materials is paint. It's timeless. And I don't mean necessarily the color is timeless, but it's an easy thing that I don't believe will ever go out of style. Unlike wallpaper, which is awesome and it's fun, but it definitely is a trend. But paint is so easy to manipulate the scenario of how you want it to feel in the space. It's also personal, and it can be challenging for people in a commercial situation to make sure that we don't do too much. But nowadays, almost everything kind of goes. I mean, it's just like they've thrown out all the rules, and it makes it, I think, confusing for people because it's just too much, if that makes sense. So, but I love it, and yes, it's a foundation for me, and it also keeps things as a process of elimination. It kind of narrows it down again because there's
definitely
so much available, maybe too much for people.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see, you walk into a paint store or like a home improvement store these days, and there's literally like 500, 600, whatever, maybe 1,000 different color swatches. And I think for a lot of people, it's like, where do you even start? So I know that in the past, you developed a system called Color Seasons, which kind of spoke to that issue. So do you want to talk about that briefly?
Basically, I had a business model that was Allison Smith Decorate with What You Own Interiors. And, for years, and it was really amazing how popular it was. It was way before the HGTVs and all these programs, and it was unbelievably popular. But when I would go in to do a consultation, I would note that there was no sense of continuity in terms of color, and it was all over the place. So I would say, listen, I can rearrange all your furniture and maybe add a sofa or whatnot and make it look great. But really, I feel like to tie all this together, and what would make sense is if you had a fundamental paint palette that you really make everything clean. And as I was doing them over and over again, I was like, wow, why don't I just sort of share this? So I developed 64 colors that were tried and true for me in terms of formulas. And I put them together in predetermined palettes so that people can kind of guide their way through. Plus, I used the seasons because we, as in our persons, tend to be a winter or spring, a summer or fall in terms of what looks good on us. Those things are colors. So sometimes that feels good in the environment that we actually live in, if that makes sense. Yeah. And so I decided, hey, and it was really amazing. And it's still, a thing to see that we have on our, that you can click through to get to on one of our, I believe in our blogs and some of our website approaches. You can go in there and see Allison Smith's Color Seasons and what we've done in the past. But it certainly has created a strength to the way that I also make color work for my projects. And I stick with that system of not overdoing too many colors. So, and we can get into that when we start the exercise of how I actually choose the paint colors. So.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, I think that would That would be a really good thing, I think, to start talking about now, is just
Okay.
kind of taking us through the process of how you select colors. I know you've put some things together for us this morning, so I'll just let you show and tell.
Yes, yes. So what I'd like to do is show you first that because, and this is just, it happens to be a project we're in the middle of working on in Washington, and we're doing all the materials for it. And that's really where you start if you're starting from the very beginning of something, where you're either going with new construction or you're remodeling.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important that you get all your materials specified first before you choose paint color, because it's harder to find that tile that goes with that color. It's easier to manipulate the paint around the materials, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. Absolutely.
So, okay, so I'm going to flip this around. Can you see that all okay?
Yes, we can see some paint swatches, and then up in the right, some kind.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
See something there. Yep.
This is the tile that we're working with, and we've narrowed it down to this color here.
Oh, I can't see where you're pointing, actually.
Okay.
Oh, perfect. Now we can. All right.
Okay, there you go. So this is a tile that we're going to use, and we're going to use it in this pattern format, but we're going to, we've narrowed it down to this color. And this sort of started what are we going to put on the floor of the commercial space? I wanted to make sure that it was a neutral enough color and it wouldn't go in and out of style too fast. So then we take that and we start figuring out how to accent other colors and nuances. Now, the building is kind of a modern 70s throwback. So now I decided, based on listening to the style of and really looking at the style of the building, that sounds weird listening, but it really is like really honing in on the building. I decided to kind of play with some of those colors, but in a modern way. So I'm calling this kind of 70s modern. So I've got this tile here that mimics a wood that's kind of washed, but it's a really pretty high gloss tile.
That is pretty.
Add this throwback of this kind of chocolate here, wood tone, if that makes sense. And then I've got these paint colors that I'm using. And this is where we're going to get into talking a lot about predominant. So my predominant color, as you can see, really complements what's going on in this floor, which is also predominant in this space. And when I say predominant, I mean it's the most of going on. So this is my predominant color. You guys can see all this, right, Molly?
Yeah, it's very close to the bottom of the screen, but it is in the screen. So
okay. And then I'm using these colors as accents. So, and when I say accents, they could be a room or just a wall, which I don't have any problem doing most of the time in commercial. However, it's kind of and this is an Allison thing. I'm not a fan of doing accent walls in houses as much, unless you know there is a throwback to something that it spoke of, which let's say it is a mid-century modern, or it is a situation where we have, you know, really vaulted ceilings, maybe where you have a wall and you really want to make it pop. That does happen. And lately, I've been using accents and ceiling colors. So and it's fun. It really is. Because again, it's a way of adding a pop of color without it being super involved. Right now, as I'm sure everybody has noted, white is in. It is the popular color of the year. Last 4 or 5 years. Gray, white houses, white inside, white outside.
Yeah.
So, but because I love color, I feel like that can get really daunting to constantly see the same thing. And I think it also needs to become personal. So what I'll do is come up with my predominant white color, because there's so many whites, whites and cool whites and such. So here's an example, and I'm going to do a couple of them of how it all ends up being after I've finished. Now, this is a bunch of colors together that complement each other, but it doesn't start that way. So I'll start off with what is going to be my predominant color. So can you see all that? Good?
Yep.
Okay,
yep, we got it.
I'll start off with my predominant color. My predominant color is going to be white.
Okay.
So I like to go to the My favorite is Benjamin Moore, but I use also Sherwin-Williams because contractors like it, and sometimes
Mm.
dictates, or whatever the quote is, dictates what
Sure.
makes sense. They're both good quality paints, and they have
Okay.
low and high quality products within their lines.
Gotcha.
You know, like for example, in Benjamin Moore, they have Aura, which is expensive, but they also have a product called Ben, which is a little more affordable, but it's still really high quality paint, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
the Aura is exceptional in the sense that it's easier and you don't have to put as much paint on the wall, but you have to kind of justify your dollars too. Some people are like, so what if I throw another roll of, you know, another
Right.
there, it's still saving me money, if that, you know. But in Sherwin-Williams has a similar thing where they have, you know, a low to high grade paint in their lines. So I go usually to the paint store. This is pre-COVID. Store, and I start off by grabbing all the little chips, and I'll figure out what am I doing? Again, let's say the place that the home or the situation already has the materials dictated, whether it's they're already existing and they're installed, or they're going to be something that I'm creating. So I've already done that part. So then I say, okay, what do I want to bring out of this house? So I come up with a paint color, predominant paint color, by going to the chip chart, which is that big old wall that has all these little spots in it that you see. I grab them, and then I go to the paint helper person and say,
Okay.
hey, I circle with a pen the one that I want, and I ask them, I would like, and they give these for free. I hope they still do, but that's what I experienced. They give you these nice sheets. Now, these are really close to the real paint color. And one of the things I think is a no-no that everybody does is they take the paint and they splat it on the wall.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why it's a no-no. Because the color behind the wall is dictating what the color is going to look like.
Totally. It's really confusing.
It's very confusing. So what I like to do is take these and I move those around and I put them in the material that I'm going to have or what is going to stay. So I take these. These are great. Again, they're just slightly off. They're computer generated from what real paint is, but not enough for anybody maybe is in the paint business to know the difference between the two. We're really close. So then I take and I say, okay, I want to accent. So I'll start off with several of them. I'll come up with, okay, so this person mentioned that they wanted some cobalt blues and maybe some fresh blues that are kind of more maroons or turquoises. So I'll some, and I'll try to find them within the same pigments, in the sense that there's warm and cool colors. So I like, in this, white is definitely a cold color, right? We can all know that. You don't have to have a lot of color theory behind that to know it's a cool color, that I try to complement cool colors with cool colors. And once in a while, I'll throw an outlier in there and stick something warm in. But and that's a little trickier. But that takes time to sort of see how that feels. Color palettes are really about, like, once you, and I do it all the time, I'll start thinking of colors together, and then I look at it and go, yuck, why? And then I have to tell myself, oh, I'm trying to force a warm color with two cool colors, and that's not working. So in this situation, I said, okay, I'm going to get a couple of different turquoises because this is what the client was saying, and they are very different from each other, but they're not. You can see the subtleness between
definitely.
Or this one's lighter over here, and then they get more intense. Okay, and then we spoke of, oh, I'd like some black accents, right? So that sometimes we do doors in black now, which is kind of fun. Also a trend that's in style right now. FYI, this is one of my favorite blacks right now. It's called black tar because it's a true black. It doesn't have any shades of gray in it. It's just constant. So I'll take that black and I'll throw it in. I'm going to put it on the top because it's confusing the eye with the blue. Also, it's harder to see these things through a computer than in real life. But you can And then I'll take a gray, because gray is another neutral. And again, it's what people are requesting and asking.
Yeah.
But doesn't have to be the same color grade. So I say, okay, but this is too many colors.
Mm-hmm.
Too many colors. This would make it feel a little patchworky. So
Yeah.
process of elimination. So I'll say, okay, I'm going to do this real quick. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to take the blue. I'm going to take the black because that's what's requested. And I'm just going to put a hint of it. And then I'm going to take the gray. So now I have 4 colors.
Gotcha.
And
4 colors plus your black,
plus
basically. Yeah.
So I have 2 real strong neutrals, which is white and black. And I'm really accenting with 3 colors.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
This may be more than what people, maybe they go, that's a little more. I would probably throw the gray out because we don't need another neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Because grays are a little more neutral. And then I might come up with just this as my color palette, which is typically the direction I go into. So this would be my predominant, meaning it'll be on most of the walls. When I say predominant, it's like the foyer, the entry, the the great room, and then or an office might be this fun, real deep cobalt color. Or in the bathrooms, I might throw this on the ceiling and still have the white. So that's kind of how I play with those accents. So this is just one example. There's other examples, of course, and now I'm going to show you the one where I decided to put a warm color in the palette. So again, we've got predominant. So I've got a white here, and it's a warmer white. So because it's a warmer white, my hands are all over the place. Kind of hard doing it this way. But
yeah.
Because it's a warmer white, I was like, what would happen if I got another? So this client had asked about using some mushroom tones.
Okay.
So I have a lot of these mushroom tones in the materials. So for an example, this granite has those underlined mushroom tones. So you can see that in the vein in it. So I'll take that mushroom tone and then I'll throw that in with a white. And so the 2 of those together really sing beautifully together. Which is a little weird. You're thinking, well, this is the white, right? We talked about it being a cooler color, but this white has what we call umber in it, a little bit of red. So it's a warmer white, and you can see that when you put a white next to another white. See the difference?
Yeah, definitely.
So I can say, oh, now I'm going to throw a little bit of a warmer color. The client also said, I really like greens, and I'm like, okay. So maybe that's you. Maybe you're saying, I really want some color, but I also want to work with neutrals. So you might want to start off subtle and just say, I just want a little bit of something. This one also have a little more clarity to it, but it's got warmth in there. So it and so then, maybe you want to add another shade of green, but this is where I start going, what's wrong? Something's falling apart here. With the mellowness of these 2 colors. So then I'm like, okay, how do I get more of it? That doesn't mean I have to. So I doesn't go, well, why do we have to? So the client may have said, and in some situations, I want blue because blue is popular right now. So I'm thinking maybe it's not a paint color. Maybe this is just pillows and fun little bits like that. But I'll take the paint color to kind of show the client, what do you think about your accents of blues? Because those things, let's face it, you can take a neutral pillow all day long and put something new in and add it, and it's not going to break the bank, if you will.
Yeah.
So this is another way of kind of looking at it again, what's going to be my predominant. So I also, these are not common to most people, but we work with these color wheels, and but it's really great. This is sort of a cheat system that I think makes sense, and it'll be helpful to people. I'll give you an example. Let's say you want to do something semi-neutral, and I'm going to go with the grays because it's really popular right now. This is called the chip chart, and you can see that when I'm talking about warm colors and where they come from, usually the bottom of the chart is where the color starts, and it gets lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter within the.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all from the same formula, and they've just been tweaked as they go up. That's why they're all within that family. So
Gotcha.
let's just say you want to be a little more monochromatic, meaning you want everything kind of the same. You can literally never ever fail if you said, okay, I want to start with this being my predominant, and I want to just add one of these or two of these as an accent. And you'll hit it out the park every time.
Yeah.
Because going from one spot to another in the store and trying to pull it together is something you kind
takes a little more skill.
Takes
yeah.
a little training.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So you have any questions about any of these things, or was it just like?
Actually, I did think of a question as you were showing us how you put together the color palettes, which was extremely helpful. I thought, do you have like a rule that you use where it's like, I generally use 3 to 5 colors, or sometimes are there applications where you're like, no, I used 9 or something like that? Like, what do you think?
Yeah. I am a person and designer of less is more. That's why when I say I want to use a predominant color, that is going to be the expanse of what you really see, and everything around is going to complement it. It's true in decorating as well, like decorating a cake. You have your
right.
And you give it its little details. So I try to stay out of no more than 4 or 5 colors. 5 is really like a shop at the
top level. Yeah.
The house or the space needs to be significant in size.
Mm-hmm.
I think what's important is that there's a feeling of continuity, and not just so that it's matchy, but that you don't get surprised by one space or another, but that you walk through whatever that is, whether it's commercial, residential, you walk through and it sets a tone.
Right.
And then the tone gets, little bits of it reminding you that tone is set in other spaces. Like if I walk into a foyer and it set the tone, if I go into a person's master, I notice that there's a reflection of what that color was doing in another space. So the essence of it, meaning but not the whole color itself, if that makes sense.
Right.
And so I like to make sure that I've tied it together that way, and it's hard to do that with more than 5 colors.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It starts to get busy.
Yeah.
It's choppy, and it starts to lose its continuity.
Yeah. And like you said earlier, I think you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't have to be a paint color. Like if there's other like colors or variations of colors that you want to include, then that's something you can bring in accessories or whatever. 100%. Is that right? Like, I don't want to put words in your mouth here.
Molly, that's awesome. No, absolutely. That is an easy, quick fix to really making things feel a little bit like they are all pulled together by having, whatever it be, artwork on the wall that you want to swap out, or frames from a photo. Pop in another color that way. But the key is not to just do it one time. Like you don't want to get one pillow that color.
Gotcha. Right.
A couple of them. I recently started gardening. I haven't had a home where I had a lot of gardening. I'm doing a lot, and it's very similar. If you want to gardening, have just one species and then another one species and another one species. You want to have 2 to balance out and remind you, as kind of like a path that you're walking through, that you've created a plan in your garden.
Right.
Very similar.
That makes sense to me, for sure. Yeah, where you're using like groups and repeating things throughout your space so it looks like the same person planted all of the flower beds.
And there's some sense of continuity about it, and it feels good, and it makes sense. If you want a more monochromatic garden, you'll have the same plant that's more modern throughout the whole place, and you would only have maybe a backdrop of whatever sod or your hardscapes or whatnot. It's a very similar thing. And so if you're a person who likes to garden, this will make sense to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that you can't have as many colors as you want in a garden, but that idea of repeating it is what I'm kind of focusing on there. So
that makes sense. Awesome. Well, I know that I learned a lot today, so I'm sure I know that everyone else did too. It doesn't look like we have any questions that anyone has asked live to address. People, this will live on the Facebook page, and people can definitely still comment and ask those questions, and we'll get back to you if you have a question later and you're watching this later. But I think for now, I will just leave you with make sure you're following Allison on Instagram. It's Allison Smith Design. It's also Allison Smith Design on Pinterest, and we share a lot of stuff there. And then if you have any projects that you would like to discuss with Allison, you can go to allisonsmithdesign.com and use the contact form there, or even message on social media, because we check all that. So is there anything left that you wanted to add?
Well, thank you for setting this up, Molly. And I want to know that our relationship is you do all of our marketing for our company, which we really appreciate. It's Molly Marshall Marketing, and it's awesome. Definitely, this concept came from your wonderful ideas, and it is really neat because I have an opportunity to share, and I like talking about this stuff because I think it's really great. We've been here for doing this for 30 years, so it's a long time in the business, and we just keep growing, and that's awesome, and I'm thankful for it, and plus we love doing it. I consider it as a privilege that people allow me to help them make choices about their personal spaces, because it is their personal space, and that's really nice. So thanks again for setting this up. And
thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and we'll see you back here in, I think, 2 weeks. We're going to do another topic. So we'll see everyone then.
Materials or something. Yeah. That'd be great. Okay.
Yep. All right.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Appreciate it.